Do you often find yourself lying awake at night, silently staring at the dark ceiling, while your mind races toward a future that has not yet arrived? You are certainly alone in this struggle. We currently live in an age of unprecedented physical comfort and astonishing technological convenience. Yet, paradoxically, we are also living through a quiet epidemic of profound mental exhaustion. We habitually carry the incredibly heavy burden of 1,000 hypothetical disasters on our fragile shoulders. Are the financial markets going to abruptly crash? Will I suddenly lose my job next month? Did I make a fatal, unchangeable mistake in that brief conversation today? Spend our precious present moments meticulously planning for a future that remains entirely outside of our direct control. This exhausting psychological phenomenon is clinically known as anticipatory anxiety, and it quietly but effectively drains the vibrant vitality from our daily lives. But what if I told you that this specific brand of quiet human suffering is not a modern invention at all? 2,000 years ago, the wealthy citizens of the vast Roman Empire wrestled with these exact same invisible mental demons. They, too, were deeply consumed by the relentless fear of losing their accumulated wealth, their fragile social status, and their physical health. The human mind has always been an exquisite biological machine, perfectly designed for survival, constantly scanning the silent horizon for potential threats. However, when there are no immediate physical predators to run from, our clever minds begin to invent them out of thin air. We slowly become tragic prisoners within the very walls of our own restless, brilliant imaginations. Tonight, I idly invite you to put down the heavy, useless baggage of tomorrow. Let us travel back in time to the 1st century, straight to the marble halls of ancient Rome, to discover a beautiful, timeless antidote to our modern anxiety. Our guide on this deeply intellectual journey is Seneca the Younger. Born around the year 4 BC, Seneca was undeniably one of the most prominent, wealthy, and politically powerful men in the entire Roman Empire. He served as the primary tutor and later the chief political advisor to the notoriously unstable Emperor Nero. Think of Seneca not just as a quiet old man sitting in a dusty library, but as a deeply entrenched, active political insider. He successfully accumulated vast personal fortunes and skillfully navigated the incredibly dangerous, cutthroat waters of imperial Roman politics. He deeply understood the fragile, highly temporary nature of extreme worldly success. In fact, Seneca personally experienced several dramatic, life-altering reversals of fortune. He was abruptly and unfairly exiled to the desolate, rocky island of Corsica for 8 long, isolating years, stripped entirely of his vast wealth and his hard-earned influence. Later in his tragic life, he was falsely accused of a political conspiracy and cruelly forced by his former student, Emperor Nero, to take his own life. When through all of these extreme, undeniable hardships, Seneca leaned incredibly heavily on the profound philosophical system known as Stoicism. During the later quiet, reflective years of his highly chaotic life, he penned a series of profound, deeply personal letters to his dear friend, Lucilius. These brilliant writings, now famously collected as Letters from a Stoic, were not originally intended for mass public consumption. They are wonderfully intimate, brutally honest, and painfully beautiful reflections on the nature of human life, unexpected death, and the search for deep inner peace. Reading them quietly today feels exactly like opening a personal, handwritten letter from a wise, gentle mentor who has genuinely seen and survived it all. Seneca did not preach a sterile, emotionless philosopher's detachment from the world. He offered highly practical, everyday psychological advice for surviving the unpredictable, violent storms of human existence. It is here, carefully hidden in these quiet letters, that we find his most piercing, life-altering insight into human anxiety. Seneca firmly delivers his most powerful, timeless truth with startling, piercing clarity. He writes directly to Lucilius, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Let those exact, profound words sink into your tired mind for a quiet, uninterrupted moment. How many times have you completely ruined a perfectly beautiful, peaceful Sunday afternoon entirely by anxiously dreading the upcoming Monday morning? How many difficult conversations have you aggressively and nervously rehearsed in the silent shower, constantly anticipating a harsh conflict that never actually materialized. Seneca wisely realized that the vast majority of our deep emotional suffering is entirely and tragically self-inflicted. We unnecessarily endure the sharp, visceral pain of failure, rejection, and profound loss thousands of times in our anxious minds, long before the dreaded event ever happens. And strangely enough, in nearly all of those cases, the dreaded devastating event never actually comes to pass in the real world, and we foolishly and automatically assume that worrying is a highly productive, necessary form of mental preparation. We falsely believe that by extensively agonizing over the absolute worst-case scenarios, we are somehow effectively protecting ourselves from future shock. Seneca vehemently and logically disagrees with this exhausting approach. By constantly anticipating dark future sorrow, we are simply experiencing genuine, painful sorrow prematurely. We effectively and needlessly double our own emotional suffering. We deeply mourn the tragic loss of our jobs, our vibrant health, and our most precious relationships long before they are actually visibly threatened. The classical Stoic approach is fundamentally, radically different. Seneca strongly urges us to look at our current, immediate reality with cold, objective clarity. If the terrible, abstract disaster is not actively happening to you right this exact second, then there is absolutely no logical reason to suffer its heavy emotional weight right now. Do not forcefully drag the dark, cold shadows of tomorrow into the warm, bright sunlight of today. Oh, how do we actively put this ancient, profound wisdom into immediate, effective daily practice? The early Stoics developed a highly powerful psychological tool called premeditatio malorum, which roughly translates to the premeditation of anticipated evils. It sounds incredibly bleak and pessimistic at first glance, but it is actually a profoundly liberating mental exercise. Instead of vaguely, continuously worrying about a blurry, unknown abstract disaster, Seneca advises us to sit down quietly, face the specific fear directly, and logically walk through the absolute worst-case scenario. Are you currently terrified of abruptly losing your current job? Take a deep breath and truly, vividly imagine it actually happening. What would you practically do the very next morning? You would wake up, carefully dust off your old professional resume, rely temporarily on your accumulated savings, and actively reach out to your existing social network. You would feel immense, uncomfortable stress, undoubtedly, but you would ultimately survive the ordeal. And by actively, repeatedly exposing the terrifying monster hiding in the dark, silent closet of your own mind, you successfully rob it of its mysterious, paralyzing emotional power. You quickly and logically realize that while the vividly imagined event is undoubtedly difficult, it is fundamentally, entirely survivable. Seneca wisely writes, "He who has firmly anticipated the sudden coming of sudden troubles takes away their destructive power when they finally arrive." Furthermore, this powerful, intentional mental exercise heavily forces us to regularly practice the Stoic dichotomy of control. We must ruthlessly and cleanly draw a thick, solid line between what we can actively change and what we simply cannot. You cannot control the chaotic global economy, the unspoken, hidden opinions of your unpredictable coworkers, or the inevitable, silent passage of time. You can only control your own thoughts, your personal moral integrity, and your immediate, calm reactions. When you completely surrender your exhausting obsession with controlling the uncontrollable future, an immense reservoir of trapped mental energy is suddenly released back into your daily life. As we finally reach the quiet, settling conclusion of today's profound intellectual journey, I want you to remember a crucial fact. Time is the most valuable, completely irreplaceable asset you have been freely given in this fragile, temporary life. Seneca constantly, forcefully reminded his dear friends that we are not originally given a painfully short life. Rather, we tragically and completely make it short by carelessly squandering our precious time entirely on meaningless, phantom anxieties. Every single anxious hour you spend dreading a hypothetical, abstract tomorrow is a beautiful, unrepeatable hour stolen directly from your actual, breathing today. Classical Stoic philosophy is definitely not about forcefully suppressing your genuine, valid human emotions. It is fundamentally about refusing to let phantom, imaginary fears illegally dictate the pure quality of your waking moments. Let the uncertain future arrive at its own natural pace, wearing its own strange, unpredictable face. When it finally does arrive, you will easily handle it with the exact same deep strength and proven resilience that has successfully carried you through every single hurdle thus far. By end tonight, as you slowly prepare to close your tired eyes, deliberately and bravely choose to lay down your heavy, dented armor. Give yourself the profound, radical, and beautiful permission to simply exist quietly in the pure present moment, totally free from the crushing, invisible weight of everything that has not yet actually happened. I ask you openly today, what is one specific, lingering, heavy worry that you are finally willing to completely let go of tonight? Please share your honest thoughts with our growing, thoughtful community in the comments section directly below. Actively acknowledging the silent fear is the very first necessary step to entirely dismantling it. If Seneca's timeless, glowing wisdom brought you even a fleeting moment of deep peace today, I sincerely invite you to hit the subscribe button to BookDream and join us on this ongoing journey. Every beautiful week, we will bring you new profound perspectives to help deeply enrich your tired soul. Rest perfectly well tonight, my good friends, and remember to live fully in the only absolute truth we actually possess, the beautiful present.